Nerds, we are going to do a top 10 moments breakdown of Squid Game seasons 1 and 2, starting now. Welcome back to the Nerd Social. I am Colin. So, Squid Game just came out a couple of days ago, the second season. For those of you that don't remember the show, it was a worldwide phenomenon back in 2021. It is created, written, and directed by Hwang Dong-Hyuk and starring Jung-jae, Ha-jun, and Byung-hun. Now, people may remember Jung-jae. He won a Primetime Emmy for his portrayal of the protagonist in season 1 of Squid Game. He also was in this year's Star Wars The Acolyte. Ha-jun was GQ Korea Man of the Year in 2022. He has been in a number of different Korean dramas and movies. And people do remember Byung-hun from the G.I. Joe series, as well as Red 2, Terminator Genesis, where he played the T-1000, and also Magnificent Seven. So my spoiler-free thoughts about the first couple of seasons of Squid Game. I think that season 1 was stronger because it was shocking and unexpected. I think that it's very hard to replicate that type of feeling that you had in the first season. Even the writer-director, Hwang Dong-Hyuk, lost his teeth basically due to all the stress filming season 1. And he has mentioned in an interview that how he hated the show. He only did season 2 because he needed money. And if that is not life imitating art, then I don't know what is, because he sounds just like the protagonist in the show. Do audiences get the main message of the series, or is it just a capitalistic cash grab by all parties involved? I think that it's debatable whether or not audiences really think of it from that standpoint of social commentary. I hope so. I do believe that is the case. But I think that sometimes the message gets lost. And I think that IGN actually wrote a really good article that I read about how people might get the wrong message about the whole series and how people are really taking advantage of it through their capitalistic means. I think also the movie Parasite from 2019 by Bong Joon-ho really encapsulates a lot about inequality. You definitely see it and you definitely can feel it, but Parasite really, I think, did a better job of showing the visceralness of being in poverty and being poor. I think that in season 2, they took some risks on the new characters that are in the game. I really like that about this one. I think that in the first season, there were some characters that were somewhat memorable, like Ali and also Ji-hoon's frenemy. I think that he definitely had a very compelling story, but I think in season 2, I gravitated to them a lot more than I did the season 1 characters. And I think that fans, when they watch season 2 and they see the ending of it, they will be shocked as to how it ended. There might be some debate as to whether or not they could have ended it there. I think it left fans with a bitter taste. In terms of rating, I would give season 1 a 10 because it's still very compelling even after all these years. You have something that visceral and raw. For season 2, I would give it a 9 out of 10. I think that it's very important to understand that these 2 seasons are very good. And it's probably going to be on my top 5 list of best things I've seen this year, and definitely has not as much of the shock value as season 1 does, but at the same time, it offers something a bit different. And also it makes you think about why he kept doing this and why is he on this vendetta and why did he get back into the game. If you like our conversation about Squid Game Season 2 and other content that we put out there, please like, share, subscribe for more. We really appreciate your support. And so without further ado, I'm going to present my top 10 lists of the top moments from seasons 1 and 2. So careful for spoilers if you have not seen Squid Game Seasons 1 and 2. So my number 10 is Thanos the Rapper from season 2, episode 3. That's where he was first introduced. There was another jerk, a-hole character that was in season 1. I think that Thanos is definitely more flamboyant than the character in season 1. And he has a rivalry with one of the other players in the game. MG Coin, who is the crypto bro. So having see this small character arc between them in their episodes was very interesting. And also it's very relevant because crypto is definitely a very big thing in today's society. The fact that Thanos was one of the guys who was investing in the crypto, and the crypto basically bellied up. And so MG Coin has a reason to be in there, and so does Thanos as well. Eventually, we see MG Coin also has another part of the storyline with his pregnant girlfriend. So definitely it was something that kept my interest. Seeing how it all turned out was really interesting. We go to number 9. This is from season 1, episode 7, which is the VIPs and the glass panel bridge. And the callousness, the cruelty that's involved to just treat human life like this is very apparent in this episode. And it just reminded me a lot of some of the excesses that we have in today's society. It reminds me of Wolf of Wall Street. It reminds me of some of the things that you hear in the news about men that are in power and being very corrupt. And it just shows the really dark side of how money corrupts humans. And so basically them seeing these desperate people as objects for their amusement, like what happens in Gladiator, but it's definitely much more real because it is what's happening right now. And the people that are in the ruling class right now are these people. And the people that take advantage of individuals that are vulnerable, that are desperate, that they're trying to win money. We're all the players in this game. And so this is really visceral because this is what the 1% is doing to the rest of us in today's society. Not to get too political in it, but that's what is really happening. And so I think that this is why I mentioned in the spoiler-free part as to whether or not audiences understand the underlying message of the series. And if they do, then they realize that they shouldn't consume all this stuff, that they should really take a look and understand that there's a lot of things that are in this world that are unequal. My number 8 moment of the series is the Brennan Lottery episode, which was from season 2, episode 1, and then also the recruiter's shocking death. And deservedly so that he died playing roulette basically with Ji-hoon here. And also the beginning of this episode where he bought a bunch of pastries at a bakery and he bought a ton of scratch tickets and then forced people that were in the park that were homeless, desperate, to choose between a pastry and a lottery ticket. And of course, most of the people chose the lottery ticket and they lost. And so he made an example out of it by basically then stomping on all of the pastries. And again, this is not as shocking or unexpected as, say, in season 1, but still shocking in a lot of ways that a lot of the people that were desperate, homeless, or had very bad circumstances happen to them chose to have the scratch ticket to be the one salvation for them instead of choosing the food. So again, it gives a lot of these life lessons that we have to keep in mind as we go along with this series. My number 7 moment is when the son betrayed his mother twice. And to me, when I saw this, I was disgusted because not only the first time when he voted to keep the game moving while his mother really begged him to not do that. And then the other part where they were in the game with the spinning wheel and they were forced to go into different rooms. Her son basically was dragged by other competitors into the room, leaving his mother behind. And basically Ji-hoon and player 001 saved his mother. So those two moments gave player 007 villain status to me. I think that you could make a justification for it, but at the same time, I think that I would question you as a human being, because to sell yourself out to capitalism in the expense of your mom is something that's unforgivable. My number 6 moment is Jung Bae's death. and cliffhanger from season 2, episode 7, which is the last episode of season 2. I think this was very interesting because we saw Jung B in the first season with him meeting Ji-hoon in the racetrack and then the convenience store. They had established this relationship, and having this in season 2 made a deeper dive into their friendship. They were brothers in arms up until his death, and so it made his death much more impactful than Ji-hoon's frenemy in season 1. I think this one really hurt him more than his childhood frenemy. Number 5 moment has to be all the new players that are in this game. I think the most prominent one is player 120, who identifies as transgender. I think that this is a really big step to have a transgender character in this show. South Korea is very conservative in terms of sexual orientation. This can be very controversial. I think that it took a lot of courage to have her to be in this role. And she was definitely a badass at the end of the episode due to her previous military training. Her backstory was very relevant. And also the reason why she wanted to keep going, they had to address that. I think it was very compelling reason as to why she wanted to keep going. The other players, player 222, who is pregnant, carrying MG Coin's child. Player 44, who is the shaman, which is more of a witch. Player 149, who is the mother of the son, and also player 007, who is the son. Based on what I said about the number 6 moment, they have a very compelling story. Number 4 was the reveal of frontman and player 001's true identity. I think that it was very shocking, not as much for frontman's true identity, but definitely player 001's true identity and also his rationale as to why he's doing this. I think that as an old man, you look back and then you figure out all that wealth, all that prosperity really didn't mean anything. And I think that goes into the underlying message of this whole series, where he can have all the money in the world, but he can't have those feelings of childhood and feelings of family back. And he desperately wanted to recreate that in season 1 with the garden and the village. For the first time in his life, he was able to be happy, but he had to do it out of other people's misery. Toward the end, player 001 questioned humanity. And so Gi-hun basically said, no, there's still good in people. You just have to find it. And him seeing the police car coming in and looking at the homeless man that was sitting on the street in the snow, and then saying, you saw that and you lost, and before player 001 expired. So that was very touching scene, but also it has a lot of emotional depth, which I truly appreciate. Number 3 moment is the reveal that there was a new player 001, which happens to be frontman. That was very shocking to me. This was at the end of episode 3 of season 2. Was he on Gi-hun's side? Is he not on his side? Does Ji-hoon know or not? That is the cat and mouse game that he's trying to play. And then at first, I think that there was some doubt from Ji-hoon about his intentions, but then he dropped hints here and there that he's not with them, or is he with them? We don't really know. And of course, at the end, we saw the betrayal, but I don't remember if Ji-hoon really realized that player 001 is frontman. My number 2 moment is red light, green light. This is very iconic and part of the pop culture consciousness, especially if you saw the first episode of season 1. The shock value and the unexpectedness of people dying was probably one of the most amazing yet disturbing scenes that you ever seen on Netflix. Some people get a joy out of it. Some people laugh at it. Some people are cruel about it, but it is disturbing to watch that for the first time. When this was reintroduced in season 2, episode 3, Gi-hun already knows what's going to happen, and it was very interesting to see how many people actually listened to him. And there were a fair number of people that did listen to him so that they didn't get killed. And I think that it's important to not only just look at the numbers of people that died the first time compared to the number of people that died the second time. But it's very interesting to see if people did believe him or not. There was definitely one guy that was there who's very into the conspiracy theories, being a contrarian to what Ki-hun was trying to do. My number one moment has to be the licking of the Delona. If you look back on it, it's so intense. Just the race against time, the challenge that he had to make an umbrella out of it is just so nerve-wracking. And when I first watched it, it was amusing, but you understand that if you don't do it, you get killed. And so he raced against time, and he thought, even to himself, he was effed. And then he eventually found out that because of the moisture in his tongue, that he's able to carve the shape out. Now, of course, there were other methods that other players did, but then if you run out of time, you die. If you break something, you die. And so he was very fortunate to not have it break apart. So those are my top 10 moments of the first 2 seasons of Squid Game. My questions for season 3, and I have 5 questions. Who is Captain Park? Because is he in on this? There was a scene where he was messing with the drones. Hopefully we get an answer to that question in season 3. Will Kang Noel get her justice because she was assaulted? And is she going to be part of the revolution, or is she just going to be a tool? Does Gi-hun know Player 001's true identity? Did he know all this time? Will Gi-hun be successful in bringing the whole game down and exposing it to the world? That's my hope, but we don't know. Maybe it won't be. Maybe they're just going to keep going, because you saw from the files that this game had been going on for years. And finally, who's going to win the game? Because there's still players that are on the board. Whether or not they're going to continue the game, we don't know, because they were having their insurrection at the end of season 2. We don't know what transpires after that. And finally, who dies? We're not sure, because there's a bunch of them that voted the game to continue. We have to find out whether or not the game is going to continue and how they're going to maintain order so that there would be some conclusion to the game. So tell us what you think about Squid Game Season 2 or Squid Game overall. Please comment down below. Like, share, subscribe for more content like this. And we will see you next video.